Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit for my siblings anymore and telling my family they can't use me as a free childcare and treat me like crap for being an unwanted pregnancy? I, 16 male, have 4 older siblings who are 11 plus years older than me. My parents were done having kids after 4. My dad even got a vasectomy, but 6 years later, my mom found out she was pregnant with me. She was 13 weeks along when they found out, and I was always told that if they'd known earlier, they would have aborted me. My siblings hated that my parents had another kid. They're all close with each other, but I've always felt like a stranger. It's not just the age gap. There's more to it. They used to call me Mom and Dad's mistake and Mom and Dad's oops. When they came home for Christmas, they'd ignore me or make comments about me. They'd buy gifts for each other, but nothing for me. My parents also treated me like a burden. When I was younger, they'd call me whiny and ask why I couldn't read my own bedtime stories or why I wanted to sit with them. If I asked for a hug, they'd make a big deal about it and tell me to go away and be quiet in my room. When I had a bad day, they were too busy to hear me out. Most of the time, they'd eat without me. Sometimes, I'd come home to find my siblings visiting and they'd have family dinners without me. The family dinners at restaurants, I was never included in those either. Once my siblings started having kids, I became the default babysitter. If we all went on vacation together, I was only brought along to watch the kids. Sometimes, they'd leave me in the hotel or vacation home alone while they had family time. Other times, my siblings would drop off their kids at home and tell me to babysit without asking. My parents would give them the okay, and I was never consulted. To answer a question I know people might ask, yes, I'm both of my parents' biological child. That's been 100% confirmed. The issue is that I came along when they were done having kids, and they resent me for it. My siblings never wanted me either. I've tried talking to my parents and siblings about how I feel, but they always brush me off. I've never tried writing a letter because I know it wouldn't make a difference. I'm not going to pour my heart out just for them to ignore it or throw it away. Recently, I got so fed up. I've been spending more time at my girlfriend's house, hanging out with her family. I also started staying there whenever I thought my family might try to rope me into babysitting. On Saturday, they wanted to have a family night out and drop the kids off at our house, but I wasn't home. My mom called and told me to come home and babysit. I told her to let everyone know they couldn't use me as a free childcare while treating me like crap for being an unwanted pregnancy. I said I had no say in being born and wasn't going to let them do this to me anymore. Their reaction wasn't pretty, but I've stood my ground and it's pissing them off. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You sound like an affair baby and everyone knows but you. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not. They did a DNA test. I'm their biological kid. Not the a-hole. Print up a fee schedule and include payment required in advance of services. Let's see how that goes. I agree with you. OP, you're definitely not the a-hole here. Setting boundaries with your family is completely valid, especially when they're using you for childcare without any consideration for your own needs. It's okay to stand up for yourself and seek healthier relationships, even if it means distancing yourself from toxic behavior. It's frustrating that OP's family has made him feel like a burden for simply existing. Stand your ground, OP. OP, can you call CPS regarding your parents' behavior? Do you have any grandparents or uncle or auntie near you with whom you can talk about your parents' behavior? I don't think CPS would do anything since I'm not physically abused or starved. Maybe when I was younger they could have, because I was left home alone more than I think they should have. But I don't know if that would have helped. My grandparents are all gone and we're not close to any aunts or uncles. The last time I saw any of them, I was a lot younger, so that's not really an option. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my relatives free legal services as a lawyer because they've always treated me as the black sheep? My family is currently upset with me, but I don't think I'm in the wrong. I grew up in a crappy town in Florida. No one in my family ever went to college. The general mindset in my family is to live life in the moment. Everyone's pretty outgoing. My parents are part of Mardi Gras crews, and my siblings all played sports. They're generally a fun bunch, but I never really fit in. As a kid, I liked to read and I've focused really hard on school. I hated going outside, and I especially hated the heat. I played chess and was on a debate team. My family always gave me grief for this. They never really made an effort to do things I enjoyed, but my parents loved to go to my siblings' sports games. They wouldn't come to my debates. It was the same for all of my cousins and other extended family. As I got older, I focused on my education and career, and I've drifted apart from my family. At this point, they only call me when they want something. I'm now happily married, and I have my own practice as a family law attorney. My husband is a judge in the neighboring county. Over the last few years, several extended relatives have reached out to me for legal help or advice. I always brush them off and tell them I'm too busy. I don't feel obligated to help because, once again, they only reach out to me when they want something. Recently, my sister lost custody of her kids to her ex-husband. Apparently, her lawyer wasn't great, so now she only has them every other weekend. My sister has a messy past that was brought up in court. My older sister called me, begging me to represent her for free and help her get her kids back. I was honest with her. I don't even know her kids, and I don't really care if she has them or not. I pointed out that she hasn't called me in years, yet now she's asking for a massive favor. For free? I told her no. My mother then called to shame me for not helping my sister, and for not helping any of my other relatives when they've asked. I asked her when the last time was that any of them called me just to see how I'm doing. I pointed out that my cousin is a landscaper. He could have offered to do yard work for me in exchange for legal services, but instead, he just called me up asking for free help. My sister could have offered something, or at least asked to pay me back later, but instead she expects free work, which isn't even free, considering I have an office to pay for, paralegals to pay, and bills to cover. I kind of went off on her and she ended up just hanging up on me. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, with a caveat. Do you ever call your family? Relationships are two-sided, and while they never cared/understood you as a child, it could be that they still don't understand you now. Or they're massively intimidated, so they only call when they're desperate. But yeah, never work for free for family. If anything, charge them double. I tried when I was young, but I gave up probably 10 years ago. I just don't see the point anymore. The relationships just aren't there. Your family only calls you when they need a lawyer, but they expect you to be their free legal superhero? Sounds like they're trying to draft you into the family law league without any membership dues. Exactly. They expect you to swoop in whenever they need legal help, but it's all one-sided. Setting boundaries is essential, especially when they don't even try to keep in touch unless they need something. Not the a-hole. They want to take advantage of you. Good on you for putting a stop to this. They're definitely trying to take advantage. Glad you called them out on it. Not the a-hole. You're a lawyer, not a charity. Your family has shown you no support and only reaches out when they need something. It's perfectly reasonable to set boundaries and expect to be compensated for your time and expertise. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not handling my grandparents' legal documents quickly enough and for refusing to give up part of my inheritance? First of all, some context. I was raised by my grandparents because my mother worked full-time and prioritized vacations and relationships over being present in my life. While she wasn't abusive, she was emotionally absent. My grandmother had a stroke a year ago and a mini stroke recently, so her health is declining, and I've been helping out as much as I can. Family dynamics have been tense for years. My mom and aunt seem to be envious of my situation. I'm married, have a child, a home, and I'm pursuing my studies. My mom has mental health challenges, no stable relationship, and no home of her own. My aunt is financially well off, but struggles in her relationship and wasn't able to have children. Both of them still treat me like a child and become defensive when I stand up for myself, especially about how I raise my baby. For example, my aunt insists I should let my baby cry and stop spoiling them with love. In the last few weeks, an issue arose. My grandparents need to sign legal documents, power of attorney and living will, to avoid future conflict over their estate, etc. My mom and aunt have tried to get them to do this, but my grandparents trust me more, likely because my mom and aunt have had strained relationships with them in the past. Recently, my aunt asked me to take over handling these documents, admitting I'd have more success than she or my mom. In the same conversation, she also demanded I give her my share of the inheritance. My grandparents' house will be divided between the three of us, because she spent more on expensive gifts for me when I was a child, like a MacBook, iPhone, iPad. I found this outrageous because it was her free will to do so, and discussing inheritance while my grandparents are still alive feels incredibly disrespectful. I told my aunt I'd take care of the documents, but hadn't yet due to my responsibilities, childcare, household, work, and studies. A few days ago, we celebrated my grandmother's birthday at my place. My mom, who was in a bad mood due to issues with her boyfriend, pulled me aside and accused me of being inhumane and heartless for not completing the documents yet. She claimed it's selfish of me to benefit from the inheritance, adding that she doesn't think I deserve it since I'm not my grandparents' biological child. I told her that was nonsense. My grandparents raised me as their own, and I care about their happiness and well-being more than any inheritance. I also pointed out that she's in no position to judge, given that she relies on my grandparents for food. She visits 3 to 4 times a week, eats their food, and never contributes anything like groceries or cooking. This led to her calling me a bitch, crying, and calling my aunt to complain. I haven't spoken to her since. We rarely talk anyway, about once every 2 weeks. Yesterday, I printed the documents from my grandparents and explained everything to them. We plan to complete them together this weekend. When I told them about the situation, they were shocked and upset about how I've been treated. They've now decided to list me in the documents because they trust me the most. My mom and aunt clearly have unresolved issues. But am I wrong for standing up for myself and refusing to give up my share of the inheritance? Was I out of line for not prioritizing the documents earlier, even though I've now taken steps to complete them? Am I the a-hole in this whole conflict? Now for the top comments. If I were your grandparents, their behavior would have me writing them out of the will, or at least giving you half and letting them split the other half. After your grandparents are gone and the estate is settled, I'd likely go no contact with your mom and your aunt. My granddad is actually thinking about it. He is pretty mad after all, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I advised him not to, because even though my grandparents are pretty wealthy, my grandma loves to spend money, and my aunt has lent them quite some amount, so I think it's fair she inherits something. The one thing your grandparents forgot to teach you was to have a freaking backbone. So, not the a-hole, but some advice? Take the paperwork to a lawyer. Have your grandparents review and sign with a lawyer and you not in a room, because when your grandparents pass, your family is going to claim that you pressured them into signing, especially if they change anything to favor you. Not the a-hole. I worked as a former paralegal, and in this situation, your mother and aunt will be a nightmare when your last surviving grandparents passes away, because they will claim you had an undue influence over them during the writing and execution of the documents. I would advise having the documents reviewed, signed, and filed with an elder law attorney. They will also help you or take care of filing all the necessary documents to open and close the estate, and deal with your mom and aunt's nonsense. Good luck. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to thank my sister-in-law because she had to babysit her own kids? My 22 female brother, 35 male, surprised me 6 months ago by planning a trip to Scotland for my birthday. He knew I had never traveled before and wanted to take me to my dream country. Due to tight finances, it was just the two of us, which I was okay with since we were close at a time. For context, my brother is married and has 2 kids under 6. His wife, 34 female, said she was happy for me and didn't mind holding down the fort for a week while we were on the trip. She and I have never been close. We basically tolerate each other for the sake of keeping the peace. She's never been a fan of how close my siblings are with each other. It all comes down to growing up in different family dynamics, in my opinion. Anyway, the trip was amazing, and I loved every second of it. I was so grateful when we got back that I thanked my brother repeatedly until he jokingly told me to shut up. I thought everything was fine, and we resumed our normal lives. Imagine my surprise when, 3 days after returning, I received a text from my sister-in-law berating me and calling me rude and ungrateful because I didn't thank her for babysitting on her own and doing everything around the house for a whole week while I had fun with her husband. Her exact words. I was flabbergasted. This is the same woman who smiled and told me to have fun on my trip. Now she's berating me for not thanking her for doing me a favor by taking care of her own kids for a week? Am I crazy? Or is that totally irrational and just weird? I told her I didn't see taking care of her own children as babysitting or doing someone else a favor. She blew up at me, calling me a terrible and ungrateful brat, and claiming I never show appreciation for anything. I was so confused by all of this. I called my brother, but he doubled down and told me that the trip wouldn't have been possible if she hadn't volunteered to take care of their kids so we could have fun, and that I should be thanking her for it. I still don't understand why I need to thank a mother for taking care of their own kids. But to keep the peace, I told her thanks for doing it. She decided I wasn't being sincere and convinced my brother to go low contact with me. My sibling said Mom are just as confused, but keep telling me to bite my tongue and not stir the pot further. I'm hurt and confused. My relationship with my brother has been strained since, and it's taking a toll on me. I just need outside opinions, because I'm genuinely confused about whether or not I'm the a-hole in this whole mess. Edit, I can't reply to everyone, so let me clear up a few things I should have included. 1. They do not share finances. She has never spent any money on anything related to me. Also, last year, she took a trip abroad with her siblings, and I don't know if her siblings thanked my brother for watching their kids. 2. By tight finances, I meant my brother paid for the trip out of his own pocket and couldn't afford to take anyone else with us. This trip was a birthday gift, not a family trip, so no one else expected to join. 3. I did thank them both when I first told about the trip, and I asked my brother if it was okay for us to go. He assured me everything was set, and I just needed to have fun. I later learned she didn't contribute anything to the trip and said she wouldn't have wanted to go with me anyway. Hope this clears some things up. Not the a-hole. If anything, your brother should be the one thanking her for taking care of their kids. You were invited on the trip, and it was a gift to you. I've never been thanked for watching my own kids. While I understand that taking care of young children is a lot of work, she agreed to do it so you could go. I don't think you're the a-hole here. She volunteered to watch her own kids so you could go. It's not something you should be expected to thank her for. The trip was a gift for you, and she shouldn't be acting like it's a favor. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't have thought to thank her for watching her own kids, but I would have gotten her a nice gift while on the trip and thanked her for being so kind to let my brother take me on this trip. I think you missed an excellent chance to be gracious. I love this perspective, but I don't know how many people would have figured this out around 21 or 22.